of the campus and strengthen the application of the measures. We have the daily routine report. If there is a disease outbreak, then we will trace back to the origin of the disease, and we will also keep a close eye on the health of the students and the teachers. We will make sure that no one will come back to the campus with the disease. For the faculty staff, they have to present the nucleic acid test run within a week. Otherwise, they cannot get back to the campus. For the students, they also have to present a certificate for their health. Because in autumn and in winter, there's also high risk of influenza, so we also have to set up our guard against these infectious disease. If not necessary, massive gatherings or similar activities should be forbidden and avoided. We ask the students to, and also the faculty members, to wear the masks in a correct way. And the students should be equipped with a mask with them according to the national standard. At the same time, mental health is also a very important issue. We will give the consultations to the students. If the students have developed symptoms like fever outside the campus, then the parents of the child should report to the schools and send the child immediately to hospital for treatment. And also for the restaurants and other public areas, we should also run the supervision on a regular basis. The schools should work together with local communities, hospitals, and public security authorities to run the rehearsals. In case of an emergency, every school should be in close collaboration with medics. We also have to set up a 24-clock connection mechanism. Obstacle-free channels should be installed inside every school. Once there's an outbreak of an emergency, then this obstacle-free green channel will be mobilized immediately. It will be activated, and the person in question will be transported in a safe manner outside of the campus. And next is to promote the patriotic sanitation campaign. For example, we mobilize the students to learn more knowledge to protect the environmental health, to keep the environment clean. Today, the campaign for patriotic sanitation movement should be combined with the learning of socialist value. At the same time, we have to catch up with the disinfection work of the environment and also ask the students to give a better protection for themselves. Students should have to develop a very good habits for personal health. And next is to give an obstacle-free access to students back to the campus. Today, for some campuses that are in the process of restoration or in the reconstruction, their schedule has been postponed and extended due to the epidemic. And until now, the city has devoted 2.9 billion RMB for the construction of the campus. For the middle schools and kindergartens in restoration, 69 of them will be accomplished and delivered to use. There are also 45 kindergartens for public interest rebuilt or restored. 18 modified elementary school and middle school with an extension of candidate capacity of 10,000. This will allow more students to have an access to education and solve the difficulty of students in getting an education in school. Those are the work arrangements of our education system in the city in the face of the epidemic. Thank you very much, Mr. Wang. And now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Li Junling from the Municipal CDC, who will talk about how the students could help themselves in maintaining good health. Good morning, friends of the media. Now I'd like to talk about how the students could better protect themselves and what we could do in case of an emergency. After returning to the schools, the students should protect themselves in 3 aspects. First of all, correctly wear a mask. Because Wuhan is already a low-risk area, in general condition, the students could choose not to wear a mask inside the campus, but they have to carry a mask with them, a medical mask or a mask to the similar level. And for students traveling between home and school, they have to choose the shortest way. It's recommended that they take a personal vehicle. If they have to take the public transportation, they have to respect the social distancing and avoid touching the handles in the public places. After arriving at home or at school, they have to wash their hands. After using the toilet, after getting out, and after touching the public objects, they have to wash their hands before touching their noses and their face. When washing their hands, they have to do it correctly. They have to use the liquid soap or a solid soap. They could also use the alcohol-based disinfectant. Secondly, if there is an emergency or an outbreak in the school, then the students and the school have to do the 3 following things. After the reopening of the school, if the students have developed symptoms like the fever, they have to wear a mask, and the students have to brief their teacher of the class immediately and also the medical department. According to the requirements of the point-to-point working mechanism, the students should be transported to the designated hospital. For the schools not equipped with a clinic, they have contact directly a nearby hospital. Second, if there is a suspected case or a confirmed case of COVID-19, then the students should be handled according to the requirement of the local CDC, and we also have to do a tracing of the possible contacts, especially the close contacts of this person in question. If the close contacts have developed dry coughs and other symptoms, they also have to respect a period of medical observation. And thirdly, we have to share necessary information with the faculty members and the students. After the sickness, the faculty member or the students have to present a certificate of health before going back to school. And now I'd like to give the floor to Madam Wang Xiaodong to talk about the food safety in schools. Good morning, friends of the media. According to the work arrangement of the CDC and also the Headquarters for Epidemic Prevention and Control, by the beginning of September, the schools will be reopened in Wuhan. Apart from the 2.4 million students going back to the school, there will also be a lot of after-school training organizations getting back to operation. In order to better guarantee the food safety for the students, relevant authorities have worked together to publish the document about the elimination of risk of food safety and epidemic prevention and control inside the campus. We have published the guidelines to guide our work arrangement at the level of the schools. We will continue to shoulder our responsibility in following and controlling the food quality inside the campus. First of all, we ask the schools to check the food security and food safety in the first place. Before the reopening of the school, the schools have to follow the checklist and check the food quality in the first place. For example, storage of the raw materials, the disinfection of the utensils, and the disinfection of the whole restoration and catering environment. First of all, in the catering area, we have to proceed with the disinfection. We have to do the disinfection and the cleaning of the whole environment. For the public equipment, we have to do a thorough cleansing and disinfection. At the same time, we also have to check the importation of the raw materials, to check the look of the raw materials to see whether there's a problem, and then also have the traceability system in place. At the same time, the freezing facilities and also the core warehouse should also be checked. Second, for the canteens and restaurants should be covered in our supervision. Since the 6th of May, the first batch of students in the graduating grades of the high school are already back to school. We have started the random checks of the food safety in the campus related. We have also organized the events of supervision to have a full coverage of the food quality checks in all types of schools, including their catering area, their in-campus restaurants. And for each step of the catering sector, for example, the distribution of the utensils, the disinfection, the purchasing of the raw materials, the checks of the importation of the vegetables, the delivery utensils, and the delivery trucks should all be checked. For the suppliers' enterprises, they have to set up a traceability system. For people working in the catering area inside the campus, they should shoulder their own part of responsibility. After the reopening of the school, we have to give a report to the local authorities in charge so that we could carry out a coordinated check of the campus. Only after getting the approval from the authorities in charge could the schools reopen the catering area towards the students. And for the nearby restaurants, within the radius of 200 meters of the school, we have to check the identity of the shop owners and the restaurant owners to see how they stock the raw materials, what is the current status of the food in the restaurant, and how they cook, whether it's safe enough. Today we have already checked 20,000 shops and restaurants like that, and we asked those restaurants and shops in question to modify and improve their practices. We will continue to keep a close eye on the suppliers of food for the campus and for the students. We will check the 5 major steps to prevent any risk related to food. First of all, for the 5 stages, the first is the purchase of the raw materials. Second is the cleansing of the vegetables in order to prevent a possible cross-contamination. And the third is to separate the raw material and the cooked material. And fourth is the separated dishes and food for the students. And the fifth is the food intake. 3 systems in place. The first system means that during the catering period of the students, there should be teachers in charge present in the place. And second, we have to have a daily check of the food inside the campus for students. The person in charge in the canteen and in the restaurant should conduct at least weekly checks in the catering environment. And after the checks, they have to keep the checklist or the check-in tables for a future surveillance from relevant authorities. And today, the commission of the parents of the students could also have the access to the checks of the catering environment for the issues and problems raised by the parents from the committee. The schools should take it seriously and try to solve the problems as soon as possible. Today, we have to prevent food-related diseases and also cross-contamination inside school. It's a very serious issue, so in the future we will continue to work closely with the CDC and the health committee in our city to better safeguard the food safety inside the campus for our students. And now I'd like to give the floor to Madam Pan Feng from the Local Authority of Public Security. Friends of the media, good morning. On the 1st of September, the schools in our city will be reopened. Nearly 1.4 million students will go back to school. In order to guarantee a good order of this returning to school, we have already elaborated the document and working plans to accompany the returning to school. And we will immediately launch all the work related to the security guard. First of all, we have to eliminate any possible risks in the campus. Currently, the district level and municipal level Authority of Public Security is in close contact and collaboration with the campuses in the district. We have the warning system and also the alarming system. We have selected important key areas as the pilot programs, and later we will extend the checks to a wider coverage. We ask the campuses to shoulder their own responsibility. We have also made the rehearsals of possible reactions to the future possible outbreaks of diseases or disasters. Second is to put in place the safeguarding mechanisms. After the 1st of September, with the reopening of the schools, we will organize armed forces like the policemen and armed forces to protect the students. For the law-violating actions or crimes against the students, the criminals will be punished and cracked down immediately. Today, we're also working with the schools to better protect the students from the telecommunication-related frauds. for the schools that have not yet been equipped with the alarming system and other security guarantee mechanism, we have to help them in upgrading the system. And for the surrounding areas, we also have to do a cleansing action. And fourth, we have to make sure that transportation is in good status and there's no possible risk covered or hidden in the surrounding areas around the schools. Today, for the surrounding areas around middle schools, primary schools, and kindergartens, we have to carry out an in-depth study about the vehicle transportation status so that we could better adjust the timeline of the traffic light and also make traffic easier for the students. And also for the school buses, we have to check whether the drivers are all registered, whether they reach the standards of driving such a school bus, whether the school buses are in good condition. And the Department of Transportation will also have the patrolling around the school so that we could guarantee that surrounding areas is in good safety around the school. For overloaded vehicles, they should be forbidden to go inside the area near the schools. For the students that are already back to their school before the 1st of September, we have made sure that information have been released to the students and their family members. We also brief them relevant information about the traffic status around the school so the parents of the students could choose a better trajectory when sending the students to the schools. Now the floor is open for your questions. Thank you. I'm from China News Agency. I have a question for the leader from CDC. What kind of protections should the students adopt? And once there is an outbreak, how could we better protect our students? Thank you for your question. After going back to school, the students should make sure that they can have a safe trip to the school. During the traveling in the public transportation system, they have to wear correctly a mask. If they develop any symptoms like the fever or coughs, they have to report it to their teacher in charge. And second is that the students should wash their hands in a correct manner. As is mentioned before, if the students have touched public objects, like they have used the public computers, then they should wash their hands in running water and also use the soap or liquid soap to clean their hands. If they don't have a soap with them, they could also choose to use the alcohol-based disinfectants. According to the criteria, they have to wash their hands for at least 20 seconds. For the faculty member or the students that have developed an emergency or an urgent symptom like the fever or dry coughs, then we have to ask the person in question to immediately put on the mask, and we have to brief this information to relevant authorities. If it is a suspected or confirmed case, then the school should follow the guidance of the CDC and handle properly this person in question. That is my answer. Thank you, Mr. Li Junling. Next question, please. Good morning. I'm from People's Daily. I have a question to Mr. Wang. Before the reopening of the school, we have already carried out the online education program, but not all schools are at the same space for education online. How could we make sure that after the reopening of the school, every student could catch up with the education program in starting September? How could we better connect online program with offline program? That is a top priority of our system. We have 6 possible measures to solve this problem and or better adapt our students to the reopening of the school. The first lesson after reopening of the school is very important. During the first lesson, we will share with the students key information about prevention and control of the epidemic and also talk about our past fight against the COVID-19 to use the example of the COVID-19 and our fight against this epidemic to ask the students to better protect themselves, pay more attention to their personal health, and also to develop the patriotism among the students so that they could love their country, love the CBC, and love their own hometown. And second is that we have to keep the trace of the mental health of the students so that every student could be involving into the next stage of the learning with a very good mental status. And the third is to do a preliminary study of the students. For students that are not able to join school during the spring semester, we have to help them before this autumn semester. Some of the students are already back to school before the summer vacation, but some others are not. So for that part, we have to give them extra assistance so that they could be better adapted to the autumn semester. And for the ranking of the students, we have to respect the real scores of their exams. And next is that we should not push the students too hard and rush them into the lessons in an irrational way. We have to follow our plans of study, ask all the faculty members, especially the teachers, to first notice the current status of the students and gradually increase the degree of difficulty of the lessons so that the students can have a long process in adapting themselves to the new environment and new programs of education. And next is that we have to give support, extra support to students in need. For example, the children of the medics and students coming from extremely poor families, students relocated. We have to give them extra help. 6, families of the students should maintain the collaboration and communication with the schools. Both of the sides should keep a close eye on the study and life of the students, and gradually we can improve the routine of the students and help them develop a good habit and good timetable of the day. After returning to the school, the students should be adapted to the new timetable of learning because offline education still is different from online education. For the suppliers of food for the campus, what are the requirements? We'd like to give the floor to Madam Wang Xiaodong. Thank you for your question. For the methods of supply of food to campus, the canteens of the schools could cook by themselves. If they don't have a kitchen, then they could resort to third-party suppliers. Today, we have also published the guidelines for the guaranteeing of food safety. If campuses purchase third-party provided takeaway food, then the suppliers should follow our criteria. They should meet the level A, the standard A, in order to have the qualification to offer food to our students. And the suppliers should also sign contracts with the campus, and that contract should be very well kept by the schools for the future investigation. For the campuses, they have to choose qualified suppliers, usually suppliers with very good reputation, especially those enterprises and food suppliers that have already reached the standards ISO 20002. And the campuses should shoulder their own responsibility. If they cook by themselves, then they have to make sure that in the catering area and in the preparation area, everything should be in good status and in a very healthy environment. The last question for the day. I'm from Wuhan radio station. We noticed that every year during the reopening of the school, the traffic would be very tense in the area around the schools. What will be this year's situation? Thank you for your question. Yes, as is mentioned by your side, after reopening of the school, the surrounding areas will face a heavy tension, a traffic jam risk. Before reopening of the school, we have 3.4 million vehicles running on the road this year, and at peak time we could have 3.4 million vehicles. And after the epidemic, people don't have a lot of trust in the public transportation system, so more people prefer to go outside with their own private vehicles. At peak times in the morning, the peak hours will start by 7 a.m. and the maximum level would appear around 8 a.m. After reopening of the schools, the surrounding areas could embrace even heavier traffic load, and the traffic jam indicator will rise significantly. Around certain schools, during a long period of time, every day there will be a heavy traffic jam. In order to fix that problem, the Department of Public Transportation will immediately elaborate a solution plan to ensure that the traffic will run smoothly around the schools. At the same time, we also would like to make a call to the public. If you want to send your child to school with your private vehicle, please depart earlier so that you can avoid a heavy traffic jam. Thank you, Madam Pan. That is all for today's press conference. Later, you could receive the written version of all the deliverings today. Thank you for your participation.